it's me, Lainey, and welcome back to the Yarnz studio. Today, we have a deadly guest joining us. He's played AFL in the biggest stadiums across the country with Port Adelaide and the West Coast Eagles, and he's a boss role model for all of us young mob. Please welcome the one, the only, Brendan Archie!
Hey, Kaz.
Hey, Cuz.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're yarning all things mob, culture and AFL.
Hey, mob. It's me, Brendan Archie. I was born in Derby, but now I live in Perth, and my mobs are Binjuru, Bulku, Nikana and Yaru.
When we talk about Aboriginal Australia, it's important to understand that there isn't just one Aboriginal culture or one Aboriginal language. There are many different Aboriginal mobs, over 250. We call these groups mobs, and each mob is like its own nation. Each mob has its own language, its own stories, and its own customs. One way to understand this is to think about Europe. In Europe, there are many different countries like France, Germany, and Italy. They're all a part of the same continent, and sometimes they're neighbours, but they each have their own language, culture, and traditions.
That's kind of how Aboriginal Australia works. Even though all Aboriginal people are connected through a deep cultural history, each mob is unique. We might be neighbours, but we're still different. Some people even belong to more than one mob. Just like someone in Europe might have family from more than one country.
Research has found that in Australia, there are more than 250 Indigenous languages, including around 800 dialects. These languages are living things, connecting people to country, culture, and ancestors. Each language belongs to a particular place and people. In 1788, there were over 250 Aboriginal languages spoken across Australia. But by 2016, only 120 of these languages were still in use. And by 2019, 90% of them were considered endangered. That's pretty crazy. So what we've been exploring is this. Even though we're all Aboriginal, we're not all the same. We're part of one big cultural family, but each of us comes from our own tribe with our own special ways of doing things in our own languages.
If that doesn't make too much sense to you, here's another way that I like to try and explain this concept. I want you all to take a moment to look around your classroom. Go on, really look at the people sitting around you. What's something that you all have in common? That's right, you all go to the same school. You all represent your school every day. When you're out and about, maybe at the shops, and you see someone wearing your school uniform, you might think, hey, they go to my school. That uniform shows that you belong to the same school.
Now, that's kind of like me and Brendan. Although we're working together here in the Yarnz studio, I look at Brendan and I see something that we have in common. We both belong to Aboriginal culture. We represent our culture every day, just like you represent your school. But here's something else. I bet at your school you also have factions or coloured houses teams, right? Maybe red, blue, green or yellow. You might all go to the same school, but each of you belongs to a different faction, and each faction has its own colour, maybe even a different name or special meaning.
That's a great example, Lainey. It's kind of like Aboriginal culture too. While Lainey and I both belong to Aboriginal culture, just like you all belong to your school, we also belong to our own mobs. Mobs are like our versions of factions. Each mob has its own name, language, stories, and traditions, and that's what makes us unique. So even though we're all part of the same big culture, just like you're part of the same school, within that, we also belong to our own special group, our mob, and that's something pretty special.
Hey, Butter, when you introduced yourself at the beginning of this session, you mentioned your mobs.
Good listening, Lainey. Yep, my mobs are Binjuru, Bulku, Nikana and Yaru.
How deadly is that? Brendan doesn't just belong to one mob, he belongs to 4 different mobs.
Yep, that's right, cuz. I've got connections from all over Western Australia.
How do you belong to 4 different mobs?
Well, because my family come from all over the place. One of my dad's great-grandmothers came from Nikana country, and another of his great-grandmothers came from Yaru country, while one of my mother's grandfathers came from Bulku country, and one of her grandmothers came from Binjuru country. It's just like if you had one parent that was from India and one parent from England, you would have a mix of both of those cultures in you.
That means within those 4 different mobs, they have their own language. That means that's 4 different languages. That's crazy to think. Maybe you know or speak more than one language at your home. How cool is that? Let's have a look on the Aboriginal Australian map on where your mobs are located, Butter.
Let's go to the map.
Wow, look at all these different mobs. Brendan, can you show me where your mobs are?
Sure thing, cuz. Nikina country, Yaru country, Bolku country, and Bidjurub country. Those are my 4 mobs.
Wow.
Nikina and Yaru country are both in the Kimberley region. So Nikina people are freshwater people, while the Yaru people are saltwater people. So both river and ocean feel like home to me when I'm up there. And both are home to the boab tree, which is a very special tree in my family, and also the barramundi, which I've loved fishing for ever since I was a young boy. Bolku country is located in the Pilbara region, and I've only visited this place once when I was a lot younger, but I do remember how beautiful the red dirt was. I love when I'm out on country and can walk around on the red earth. It feels like I'm connecting back to my Bolku ancestors. Bidjurub country is located in Yarnz country, which is in the southwest of Western Australia. This country is only an hour from where I live, so I get to go and visit and connect there whenever I can. I love when I visit the main town there called Pinjarra, and I get to go and spend time down by the Bilyamargit, the Murray River, and be sheltered by the gum trees that grow on the banks there, exactly like my great-grandmother used to do when she was growing up there.
Wow, that's so interesting how the landscapes are so different. But are there any cultural practices or traditions that are different between your mobs?
Although there are a lot of similarities in practices and beliefs across different mobs, such as singing, dancing, storytelling, almost every mob has their own special way of using these practices. Each mob has their own unique songs, song lines, dances, Dreamtime stories, based on what their own beliefs are.
And what about language? Is hello the same in all of your languages, or is it different?
It's a great question, Lainey. No, just like with different countries in Europe having different languages, that's the same with different Indigenous groups. So hello in Yaru language is Nyajiminga, but hello in Yunga language is Kaya.
Wow, so they really are totally separate in so many ways, including in their language. Let's talk footy now. When you were playing for the West Coast Eagles in Port Adelaide, did you meet any other First Nations players?
Yeah, I met many First Nations players who played in the AFL and the AFLW who come from all sorts of different mobs all across Australia. And when you look at the Indigenous AFL and AFLW maps, you can see where everyone's from and how those connections spread out. It's pretty special to see how players from the Kimberley, Arnhem Land, the desert, or the southeast each bring their own stories and language to the game.
Wow, so in the AFL there are players from over 55 different Aboriginal language groups.
That's right, Lainey. AFL is a big part of the lives of Aboriginal Australia, and you can see that with how many of us there are in the AFL. Even my younger brother Callum, Chee, plays in there. Some say I taught him everything he knows.
I'm sure you did, Butter.
Thanks so much for having me, cuz, and thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.
We'll see you next time. Bye.